think you should.
Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and just say that this is the finale of the first arc, I guess, of Persona 5, because Persona 5, this is episode 4, by the way, Persona 5 started off really well. It started off really well, and I was really enjoying it. It basically was just doing everything that the game was doing, but it did it at a different pace, and it was actually, really good. I actually really liked the pace that it was going at, and it was really good. I was having, a lot of fun just watching the series, almost as if I was playing the game again. And honestly, like I said before, in the past couple of weeks, it honestly makes me want to play the game again, and I might do that sometime soon. I'm not really sure. So either way, the episode starts off exactly where we left off before last week at the end of the credits last weekend, and essentially what happened was that the Phantom Thieves, which is basically the main four that we know of so far in the series, which is An, Ryuji, Ren, and Morgana, and they released out their calling card, and the calling card is meant to be able to show up the desires that Kamoshida had in his palace and in the cognitive world. And they basically are getting ready and set for this whole heist with getting the treasure that was in the palace, and everything else that they got to do beforehand anyways. So they set out the calling card, and of course, everybody's like wondering, like, oh, who did it? The Phantom Thieves. Who are the Phantom Thieves? Is this a prank? Nah. And it's just like, the only people who know what's actually happening is Ren and the others. So, and then Kamoshida eventually, he ends up seeing, the calling card as well. So naturally, because the calling card is called out towards him, he's wondering who the hell did it. And then they have like a little like flash thing where they show the shadow Kamoshida who's in the palace, and he's like, come on, come and take it if you can. Yeah. I'm just like, oh well, we already know what's gonna happen if you played the game, so that should be fun. And there was only really one thing that I can only really criticize about the episode, and we'll get into that a little bit later. So the episode continues on. We get the intro, obviously, and I really liked how they started off the intro, because the opening rather, they showed like a TV, and it was kind of like a callback to Persona 3, or not Persona 3, Persona 4. I didn't watch Persona 4, but I know a little bit about Persona 4 because I have a friend who watched it, and it was pretty neat. So, like I said, they're all getting ready to go inside of this palace to get ready and steal this treasure. But before all that happens, some of them, mainly An, they go and do whatever they're gonna do in real life stuff, which is basically An just goes and checks on Shiho, and she still hasn't, woken up yet from basically her coma. So, whilst the other two, or rather three, because Morgana's there too. So, Ren, Ryuji, and Morgana, they go to kind of like a BB gun store, because the way that the game works is, fake guns like BB guns, they, whatever the person in the palace or in the metaverse essentially sees the gun as, if they see it as a real gun, then that's what the cognitive person, or that's what it will cognitive be in the cognitive world known as the metaverse. It'll be a real gun if whoever sees it as a real gun. But obviously in the real world, where they're at, most of the time anyways, it's just like a fake gun. It's not real. But in the metaverse, it is. So they're getting ready, and they're getting weapons to, fight back. We meet the doctor lady, who will end up becoming an important part, maybe sometime soon in the series. She kind of has like her own like thing in the game. I forget what it is, because it's been a while since I've actually, kind of played the game, obviously, right? So she goes ahead and she gives Ren, medicine, and it was supposed to be like this experimental stuff. It's experimental medicine, but it'll work inside of the metaverse. So, something as simple as band-aids, for example, will work as a healing item in the metaverse, and that's the exact same thing if you were talking about the game. And I like how they're doing it. They're making it seem like it is the game, they're making it seem like it is the game just in anime format. And it's fucking awesome. I fucking love when the show is doing stuff like this. It's just fantastic. So Ren gets the medicine from, the lady. I forget her name. I apologize for not knowing her name. But obviously they then go to the school. It's late at night, and then they go inside of the palace. They play a theme. I forget what it's called. I forget what the theme is called, but I was just like, oh shit! I fucking got so hyped when I heard it. But they're going throughout the palace, and it's then when they're like, okay, if we're gonna be doing this, we gotta get code names. I think Morgana says that, and so they're thinking of code names for each other. Ryuji is Skull, Morgana is Mona, An is Panther, but Ryuji kind of, gives his own 2 cents into what her code name should be, and I'm not gonna say it. You're gonna have to figure that out for yourself. And they don't say what Ren's code name is gonna be in the episode, but if you watch the first episode, obviously, or if you played the video games, you know what his code name is gonna be, and it's Joker. And Morgana actually says at the end of the episode, so take that as you will. And I actually really like the name Joker anyways for him, so I'm glad they stuck with it. So later on, they get to like a kind of like a bridge kind of like area they need to get past to in order to get to Kamoshida's treasure, but they need the key in order to deactivate a trap. So they then go after one of the shadows or whatever that's inside of the palace who has the key. They attack it, and then it shows up as Pixie, and that's one of the personas that the character can get inside of the game. And the same thing happens in the actual episode. So in the game, how it works is that the player gets the item, and then depending on what you say, when you stun the enemy and you corner them, right, and they can't really go anywhere, depending on what you say, they'll either run away, they'll give you more money, or they'll actually be your persona. And what happens in the episode is that Pixie, which is the name of the persona, ends up joining along with Joker or Ren, right? So later on in the episode, when they're fighting Kamoshida, because afterwards, they deactivate the trap, they go in and they try to steal the treasure, but Kamoshida stops them, right? And then as all that is happening, they have a little bit of monologue, and then Kamoshida then transforms into like kind of like this big creature dude. I actually want to show you what this looks like in the video, so I'll be sure to remember what he actually looks like when he's like when he's like in his monster form, because this is the only part of the episode where I was kind of like about it, because I was wondering what they were gonna do with it, right? Because in the game, they can just simply design him like however he was and it'll look okay. But in the episode, they basically do the same thing, but when you look at it, it looks like it's animated CGI, and you can kind of tell because it looks like significantly different from everything else. And I'm not saying it's bad, because I've seen worse CGI. I'm getting a phone call and I don't know what that number is. I apologize. I've seen bad CGI and I've seen good CGI, and this is like kind of somewhere in the middle where it's not bad, but it's so much different from everything else in the shot that it's in, that it doesn't really look all that right. It actually looks kind of gross, and maybe that's the point that they were going for. I have no idea, but it looks gross. So anyways, they're backed against the corner because this fucker is just like right there in front of them. He's fucking gigantic, and he can get himself power boost and he can heal himself, and so they're mainly after the treasure. So the whole time Ryuji, something's in my eye and it hurts. So Ryuji the whole time is trying to get to the treasure. Meanwhile, Ren, An, and Morgana, they're getting attacked, right? And then Ren actually passes out. And they kind of do the same thing how they do in the video game, but it's actually different. In the video game, when you die, you either fail the whole game because you did die, or you get sent back into the game and then you have to try again. I don't know. I actually never died playing Persona 5, so the video game, obviously, right? Something is actually in my eye and it hurts. I apologize. You might hear me hit my mic a couple of times because I'm trying to, you know, kind of trying to do whatever. Anyways, so Ren, he gets knocked out and he's back into the Velvet Room. And then Ren is like, oh, I can still fight. So Igor is like, okay, well, let's do this. And they do what they do in the video game in the sense that you can fuse two persona into one. So what happens is that, Ren, he takes Arsene and Pixie and they turn it into a new persona, and then he wakes up and then he starts, going fucking badass on the motherfucker, right? Kamoshida. And so they win, right? And I'm not against, like the whole thing that, Ren, the main character, can get more persona, because it's the same thing that they did in the video game, but it makes sense in the video game. And I was honestly kind of hoping that Ren the whole time kind of kept Arsene as his main persona, because it would have been cool. But it's whatever. I'm actually interested to see what else they're gonna do with it, because there's a persona that I had for basically the rest of my playtime for Persona 5 the video game, and it was a persona named Seth. And so I wonder what other persona they're gonna give to the main character. So Ren is Ren is attacking Kamoshida, and then they finally get the treasure that they were actually seeking towards. They beat Kamoshida, and then they obviously have more monologuing, right? But this whole time, Kamoshida is trying to give a whole bunch of excuses on why he did this and that and whatever to the students inside of the school, right? And they're basically saying there's no excuse of what you did, and you need to atone for your mistakes. And An even mentions herself that if she had killed, Shadow Kamoshida, he wouldn't have been able to, atone for his sins and, pay for his crimes. So she doesn't kill him, and Shadow Kamoshida just basically disappears. And whilst that happens, the castle is coming down to a crash, right? It's completely disappearing from the cognitive world, and it's no longer there anymore once it's gone, right? And they leave. So they go back, and the next day they're in school. And as that happens, they do the whole scene where Kamoshida admits, and he had a change of heart, and he admits of what he did. He abused the students, he verbally abused a lot of the students, abused his team, and sexually harassed the fucking female students. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and kill myself. I know he says, he says, oh, I'm gonna kill myself, to atone for what I've done. And then An is basically saying, you can't run away from this, because every single day, all of us have to live in a world with regrets. And she basically tells him he has to do the same thing. And then so he's then, taken by the police, and then he has to atone for what he did. And the episode ends off with the team saying that it was mission successful. Shiho actually woke up from her coma, and she's perfectly fine, it seems. And like I said, Joker is the name that Morgana gives to Ren, the main character, at the end of the episode, as his code name for whenever they go inside of the metaverse or not. And I'm not gonna say what happens at the final part of the episode, because it's kind of a spoiler, and if you don't want spoilers, then that's basically the part that you don't really know about, because it basically teases of what's gonna happen later on in the series. And if you already played the game, then you already know what it is. But if you haven't played the game and you're only watching the series, then you probably don't want to know what it is. So I'm not gonna tell you what happens at the final parts of the episode. So I'm just gonna leave it there. So overall, the episode, it looked great. All of the Persona 5 episodes so far over the past couple of weeks have just looked fantastic. The music has been fucking fantastic. Art style, of course, is amazing. Absolutely wonderful. And then the only part of this episode where I was like, kind of like, what is that? Was, the whole monstrous Kamoshida kind of form thing. Whatever. I'm going to throw an image on the screen, and I think I'm actually going to use that for my thumbnail, so you'll probably see it anyways. So, yeah, it's kind of gross. So, anyways, overall, the episode was fun and enjoyable, and it added, more to what we already have seen and what we wanted to see. So without it, without any more information that there needs to be, because I don't really know what else to say other than that, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up the video here. If you guys did enjoy, be sure to leave a like, and if you want to see more just like this, be sure to obviously subscribe for more videos just like this. I'll see you guys next one. Hope you guys do have a wonderful day. I'm out. Peace.